Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shameika and this is Check the Rhymes. Before we jump into today's audio interview, let's take care of some housekeeping first. If you haven't already, hit subscribe and then tap that bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a video, which at this point, because we're stuck in the house, could be anytime and you don't want to miss that, right? And you can always check out my content at sweet929.tv. So, you have two choices here on YouTube or over there. So now that we've got that taken care of, let's jump into who we have visiting us today. So you've heard of Tyler Perry's seductive drama, If Loving You Is Wrong. Well, I've got the actress that plays Kelly joining me today. So Edwina Findley Dickerson is going to be talking about the fifth and final season on the OWN network, and it premieres March 31st at 10 p.m. on OWN, and you don't want to miss it. So she's going to talk to us about working with Tyler Perry, what we can expect on this final season, what she's got coming up, and hopefully give us some tips on how to handle, being in this crisis that we're in right now, and also speak life into how we can stay positive. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss this interview. Welcome, Edwina, to Check the Rhymes. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, super excited, though I'm kind of a little sad that this is the final season of If Loving You Is Wrong. So what can fans expect this season?
Anybody who's been following us since the first season, or even if you hopped in between, that with Tyler Perry, you can expect a lot of drama, and this season is fast and furious. So, with my character, I kind of went from being a little old dreamer in the first season to a killer by the end. Now I'm in jail. My son is living with Natalie, and I'm literally fighting for my life and fighting to get out of jail. And Lucian, bless his heart, he is just coming to my rescue. But there's so many obstacles involved, including the fact that Travis, his family was dirty, and they've been paying off everybody in town to make sure that I don't get out. So, I'm definitely in a fight for my life. I do think that those of us who can't stand Eddie, we may be in for some juicy twisted turds. All hoping that he'll get what he deserves this season. Right. And then, of course, with Alex, we've been on the edge of our seat wondering, who is this child's father all this time? Is it Randall? Who is it? And there's a new stranger that comes in town this season, and we start looking at him side-eyed, and also Alex side-eyed. It turns out that I think she's been living a double life all this time. So there's definitely a lot of juice to keep us going through this season.
Oh, wow. Cannot wait. And so that premieres on Tuesday, March 31st at 10 p.m. on the OWN network. So that's exciting. So I also wanted to kind of I'm always so curious about what it's like to work with Tyler Perry, because he's got so much going on. I'm like, how does he focus on one show at a time and doing all the writing and doing everything? How does he do it all? What's it like?
You know what? I finally asked him that, because of course you wonder from a distance, right? But when I finally had a chance, I was like, Tyler, can you just tell me, how do you do it all? And he said, you know how. And I had to pause for a moment, and then I realized what he was saying. And he was saying that God has empowered him to do all the things that he's doing. That is supernatural, and in watching him, I really do feel that way. I've never met anybody else who writes, directs, produces, stars in so many shows, both on stage and television and movies, all through the year, over the years. He's probably one of the most prolific entertainers in our generation. So it's incredible. His work ethic is amazing. And what's most amazing about him is that you can't tell. When you come to him or in his presence, he feels so peaceful, so grounded, so present. Wow. You would think that to do all of that your mind would just be spinning in so many directions. But, he's one of the kindest, most generous, souls that I know. And he is so present.
Now, you had a kind of a prophetic vision come to you about working with him? I heard this on another interview, but I thought, wow, that is amazing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was crazy. Like, in my life, and the people that know me know, almost everything has been prophesied before it ever happened. Who I was going to marry. I walked into a church with 40,000 members, and literally it was one person in that sea of people, and God said, that's your husband. You know, down to me having a baby, that it was going to be a girl, that Rose would be in her name, and my mother's name was Rose. I mean, there's been so many things. But with Tyler Perry, literally, I was in Dallas. I was doing a speaking engagement. I had never been to Dallas before at that time, and I was leaving. I visited this nightclub, and I was leaving, and this woman stopped me, and she said, do you know who Tyler Perry is? And I said, I know who he is. I've never met him. And she begins describing his studios in Atlanta, and she says, you're going to be working with him, you know, and she starts prophesying about my husband, that he's in New York City, that I dated him before, and that we're going to get back together. And then she also says, you're about to move to California from New York. And literally all of those things happened. Wow. But it was funny, though, because after she said it about Tyler Perry, because I'm like, really? You know, I found myself in Georgia, and so I drove up to his studio lot, and I asked the guard, you know, can I come in? Of course, he was like, absolutely not. I have no idea who you are. Like, fine, that's fine. So I'm leaving, and then it dawned on me, you know what? If I really believe this, if I believe, you know, this prophetic word that I'm going to be working with him, I'm just going to join my faith with that. And I literally went back and just put my foot on the ground, slipped it underneath the fence of the property, and I said this scripture from Joshua. I said, wheresoever the sole of your foot shall tread, God will give unto you. And now, you know, these years later, to not only have worked there and filmed there several seasons, but also to now have a star, for Tyler Perry to have, you know, blessed me with a star on his Walk of Fame there at the studio.
Wow.
It's just, you know, it's such a manifestation moment. And, you know, anybody that follows me too knows that I'm big on manifestation. And I just feel like God has a plan for all of our lives. And if we really tap into it, our minds will be blown, you know, with the plans that he has for us.
Absolutely. And that was one thing I when I was stalking your Instagram, I noticed that you are into manifestation. And I just personally started getting into that myself, and for like the past year. And it's amazing when you, like, you know, just really focus on what you want, and then, you know, leave it in God's hands, and then it manifests. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is. Actually, I'm writing a book about it. I was offered a book deal and everything. So I'm really, you know, trying to get these principles into the hands of people that, you know, it's not just something that just happens, right? Like, you're actually partnering yourself with, like you said, what you want, and with what you believe that God is saying to you.
Yes, absolutely. So, with the few minutes we have left, I also noticed that you and your husband have been doing finance tips, you know, for this time that we're in right now. And so I wondered if you could just give us 3 quick finance tips for dealing with this crisis that the country or the world is in right now.
Absolutely. Well, in the last, I don't know, I guess it's been probably the last 8 months, we've been strongly encouraging people to have an emergency fund. Have an emergency fund. That's something for 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And of course, we did not realize that we would end up here, right, at this time where people are being laid off and jobs. But, you know, for anybody that can, please, 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 if you don't do anything else, have an emergency fund. Also, this is a great time for homeowners to refinance. Interest rates are at historical lows right now. You can save so much money per month, and you can save hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of your loan. So we definitely, and they can DM my husband if they want to talk about any of these things. He's at Kevin Dickerson on Instagram. And I would say lastly, really, especially during this time of coronavirus, press into the programs, right? There's a stimulus package that's coming out. There are resources for small business owners. There are resources as far as rent, you know, or for landlords, to help with forbearance during this time, especially for loans that are backed by the government. So I would say definitely do research and find out what's at your disposal if you need some additional financial support right now.
Absolutely. Those are some amazing tips. And I'm definitely taking heed to that. Well, one quick question about the finance side of it. I know a lot of people are saying buy stocks right now. Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Months ago, we've definitely been educating people on stocks, on investments, even cryptocurrency and all of that. At that time it was what's called a bull market, which meant things were booming and high. Now obviously things have been crashing and going lower. So those who have been saving, those who have money, to be able to spend for the long haul, sure, when stocks are at the base bottom is when you want to be able to buy, right? If you don't, especially if you're not planning on cashing it out quickly, right? If you're in it for the long haul and you can afford to put that money there, great. If you don't have a lot of money to spare, I would say hold on to it because cash is king, and you definitely want to have some liquid assets. So it all depends on what financial position you're in, but definitely if you have a surplus beyond your expenses, beyond your emergency fund, all of that, and you feel like, hey, I can go shopping right now while things are at a discounted rate, in the stock market, then do it. Just be wise. And like I said, they can always DM us. We do Financial Friday every Friday on Instagram, and we're launching on YouTube within the next week, actually. But they can DM my husband at Kevin Dickerson, and he'll be happy to share more resources. And then as far as if loving you is wrong, of course, we can live tweet. I live tweet on Tuesday nights at Edwina Findley. We use the hashtag if loving you is wrong, and also on Instagram at Edwina Findley.
Awesome. So we will be tuning in on Tuesday, March 31st at 10 p.m. and we'll live tweet with you. Hashtag if loving you is wrong. So thank you so much, Edwina, for joining me on Check the Rhymes today.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Shameika. Thank you for having me.